What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside Hartford, Connecticut. And today we'll be discussing the MLB standings for the third to last time. Really crazy to say that, but here we are. So, of course, you guys at this point know how I do this video. So let's jump in and we'll go with the AL East to start it off. And in first place, you got Tampa Bay. Second place, Toronto. Third place, New York Yankees. Fourth place, Baltimore Orioles. Fifth place, Boston Red Sox. I'm going to kind of try to ignore saying the records today. So, Tampa Bay's been kind of, I don't want to say struggling, but not having the best baseball being played this past week. So, Toronto has gained on them and New York has gained on them. Now, a big problem for Tampa Bay, too, is, as we'll see soon later, there are other teams in the AL creeping up on them. So, while Tampa was the first AL team to get to 30 wins, Chicago and Minnesota both got to 30 wins as well yesterday, and Oakland is only a win behind. So Tampa Bay, they were looking like the number one seed in the AL for a little while, but one bad week in a shortened season can definitely slow you down. They just lost Ji-Man Chow for the season, at least the regular season, more likely than not. So that's a big loss for them. He's a good left-handed hitter, so you don't really want to be without him, but you kind of have to at this point. It's a hamstring injury. He's a key piece of that lineup, but Toronto's been doing decent. They've been hanging around 500 for the past week. New York Yankees have been hot. They're on a 5-game win streak. On the flip side, Baltimore's on a 5-game losing streak. So at one point in the standings, the Yankees had a half-game lead on the Orioles. Now, not anymore. Yankees have been heating up. Orioles have been cooling down. It's a shame, but it was bound to happen. Yankees' payroll is insane, and they're definitely looking to compete. And Boston's just dead in the water at this point in the AL East. Baltimore's dying as well. So no team is officially eliminated from the playoffs in Major League Baseball, which is insane to say on September 14th. But again, shortened seasons will do that to you. Now, I'm going to be doing a part 2 later today, and it's going to be discussing the playoff picture if it started today. So what I'll do is I'll kind of point out some of the teams here that are borderline playoffs, what's going on with them. So, of course, Tampa's probably is a really good bet to make the playoffs. Toronto and New York are fighting for that 2 seed in the AL East. So we'll see what happens with that. Now we'll go to the NL East, and Atlanta's in first, Miami's in second, Philly's in third, New York Mets are in fourth, Washington's in fifth. Again, really disappointing season for the Nationals. It's just really disgusting to see how bad they're doing this year. Now, I get it. Strasburg's out for the year. Scherzer's not doing the best. He's starting to show his age a bit. Howie Kendricks on the DL at this point, or IL, I should say. Most of your batters have been underperforming, excluding Soto and Trey Turner. But at the same time, Soto and Trey Turner are your top 2 hitters by far. You should still be competing. And I get it, you lost Rendon, but they're not dead yet. But at this point next week, I'm not expecting to be saying that. I'm expecting them to be eliminated. So, Mets are not doing that hot either. They're playing like their record. They're good, but they're not great. They're a team that's going to hang around, slightly below 500. They're not really a playoff team at this point. The pitching is there. Pieces in the pitching staff are there, but the hitting still leaps behind. Then you get to the top 3 in the NL East, and all 3 of them are probably making the playoffs. Philadelphia had a little bit of a rough stretch here. They had a series against Miami, and it's kind of ridiculous because they played 7 games, or they're going to at the end of the day, today, Monday, but they're playing 7 games in 5 days in Miami. I'm not a fan of that for either team. I think it's kind of ridiculous that you have to play 7 games in 5 days in one stadium. It's a huge advantage for Miami. I just don't think that they should do that. I think that Major League Baseball should have said, Miami, as part of the punishment, you have to play all your games in Philadelphia against Philadelphia this year. But again, I'm a biased fan. So Miami's been beating up the Phillies this series. I think that, not really, but I think it's either 3-2 or 4-1 or 4-2, something like that. Miami's winning. They swept a doubleheader yesterday. So it's really just it's going to be interesting. Um, Miami, I don't think Miami's this good. They just match up really well against the Phillies. But we'll see. Right now, if the playoffs start, of course, Miami is in the playoffs. In Atlanta's been doing pretty good. They haven't been dominant as you'd hope, but Acuna really hasn't been doing all that much recently. He's been dealing with injuries. It wouldn't shock me if he's still hurt. Now on to the AL Central, and you have two heavyweights duking it out for the first place seed from the AL Central with Chicago, Minnesota. Cleveland's hanging behind them, and then you got Detroit and Kansas City. Detroit and Kansas City aren't officially eliminated, but I mean, I think both teams are on the outside looking in. Pretty obvious. Kansas City's been doing a little better lately, but I mean, the offense is very inconsistent right now, but you can't, they lost Jorge Soler for a little bit. He's been dealing with a nagging injury for the past couple weeks. They finally put him on the IL at the beginning of last week. So we'll see what happens with that. Detroit, we knew Detroit wasn't this good when they started off that hot. Cleveland's been doing decent. The pitching staff is really starting to crumble, excluding Bieber at this point, who just lost his first game of the season this year, and he lost allowing 3 earned runs. I believe it was still a quality start for him. So it just goes to show you, Bieber is definitely a Cy Young favorite at this point in time. Minnesota is starting to play a little better. They are definitely starting to gang on Chicago. Chicago's still one of the best, hottest teams in baseball. I saw a stat, I think it was since August 16th, the White Sox are the best team in baseball record-wise. They're slaughtering their opponents. Their offense is clicking. So Chicago's definitely looking like a AL heavyweight at this point in time. If the playoffs started today, Chicago would be the 1 seed from the AL. NL Central, Chicago Cubbies are in first place. St. Louis in second. Milwaukee, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. So I would be very dumb to not mention this. So this is the first time in Major League history that both Chicago teams have thrown a no-hitter in the same season. As obviously yesterday, Alec Mills threw a no-hitter for the Chicago Cubs. So it's just interesting, and plus both teams are in first place, and the Cubs are running away with the NL Central. The White Sox have a game lead over the Twins, so it's going to be something. We might honestly have a decent chance at seeing a Chicago finals. It's possible. I don't think the Cubs match up well enough in the NL, but it's possible. Chicago's just been really good this year. Much better than we expected. But realistically, how much of that comes from playing in the Central Division here? I mean, hold Chicago White Sox, hold the Minnesota Twins. There's not a lot of talent left if you're the Cubs. I mean, yeah, Cleveland's a good team, but there's not a lot of talent left. So how much of their 28-20 record comes from playing in the Central? St. Louis, they've been a bit of a disappointment at this point in time. But again, similar to the Phillies and the Marlins, you had to miss a chunk of games early on in the season. Now you got to play all these doubleheaders to catch up. It wears out on your players. Milwaukee's also been a disappointment, but I mean, they gave up on all their pitching prospects, it seemed. So their pitching staff was a big question mark coming into the season. Cincinnati, again, big disappointment. Again, I know I mentioned this last week. I had them as a World Series sleeper. Not going to happen. They're not dead yet, but it's not looking good. And of course, Pittsburgh Pirates, not dead yet, but I'm definitely expecting to write a nice little E by your name next week. Now I get to the AL West. And the AL West is another interesting one. So Oakland's running away with this division. They're the only team above 500. Then you get Houston, Seattle, LA Angels, Texas Rangers. So Rangers, you're essentially done. You have a really tough road to get into the playoffs. The Angels, on the flip side, they were dead in the water 2 weeks ago. They've been heating up since. They are, I believe it was 7-3 in their last 10 games. So they're starting to play well. This is despite the fact that some of their key pieces, including Shohei Ohtani, are still struggling. So we're starting to see what the Angels can do. But because of the shortened season, I don't think they have a great chance to make the playoffs. Anything's possible in this garbage division. So, I mean, it's the only division where only one team is above 500. And NL Central is very close to that. But the Angels are not in a good position to make the playoffs, but they're definitely getting some confidence. Seattle is actually creeping up on Houston for that second seed in the NL or in the AL West. So Houston's by far the better team, but a lot of their hitters have not been doing it. Obviously, Bregman had a stint on the IL. He hasn't been good. Altuve is arguably the biggest disappointment of the season. Him and Gary Sanchez are arguably the two biggest disappointments of the season. So, not including guys who got hurt. But it goes to show you, Houston's been slowing down big time lately. Seattle's been catching up a little bit. They've had the third seed in the AL West locked up, but I mean that's worth nothing right now, because right now they're on the outside of the playoffs. In Oakland suffered yet another season-ending injury with Matt Chapman is out for the season. They're not in a good spot, especially right after the trade deadline. At least they got Tommy La Stella. If they're confident enough, they can just move La Stella to third and bring out one of their other second basemen who they weren't that confident with, because La Stella can at least play third base as well. So Oakland, they're kind of slowing down. The injuries are starting to catch up to them, unfortunately. Then we'll go to the NL West here, of course, the last division in baseball. Dodgers are no longer running away with this division as the Padres are creeping up on them. But those two are the 1 and 2, and no doubt in this division. San Francisco in third, Colorado in fourth, Arizona in last. Arizona, again, they effectively gave up on the season. The fact that they aren't eliminated yet tells you that it's a shortened season. They're not making the playoffs. If they make the playoffs by some miracle, they're going to get slaughtered in the first round. Colorado, same thing. They're not good enough for the playoffs. The pitching staff's a big question mark. The hitters are too old. Hold Blackman. So, San Francisco, though, they're having a surprising season. I don't think many people saw them as a potential playoff team. But at this point in time, they are just outside of the playoff picture. So there's a chance for San Francisco to make a run for the playoffs. But again, I don't think they're good enough. The offense has some pieces, but the pitching staff, not there. So now the real fun one. So the Padres and the Dodgers. So this is going to be an amazing game series, 3-game series they have coming up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of this week. It's going to be one heck of a series. I'm going to try to watch those games. Unfortunately, I probably won't be able to watch the one Monday night, but I will definitely be trying my best to watch Tuesday and Wednesday nights. Those are going to be two very highly contested games, and along with tonight's 3. San Diego's been performing a little better as of late than the Dodgers. And when I say the Dodgers are struggling, quote unquote, they're 7-4 the month of September. That's not even half bad. You know, if you turn someone like the Phillies 7-4 this month, they're happy with it. You put that in Milwaukee, St. Louis, they're happy with it. Padres have just been streaking right now. Dodgers are slowly cooling off, but they very well also could be saying, you know what, we don't need this. We're not going to do this. This is going to be a make-it-break-it series for them. If the Padres sweep the Dodgers take sole possession of first place in the NL West by a half game. So it's going to be one heck of a series. I believe it's in San Diego, so that gives them a slight advantage. But that is it for this week in the MLB standings. And later today, you will be getting essentially a part 2 as we'll be looking at the playoff picture. Hope you guys enjoy this. Have a great rest of your day.